In the last video we looked at how we could change the width of our columns and rows. Next up we're going to understand how to completely hide columns and rows. Let's have a look at how we can do that with a column first of all. I'll select the entire column, in this case column E, right click and use hide. When I hide the information will still be preserved, but it is hidden from view. You will notice that before, when we were deleting a column, the column number would change, so that if I just deleted column E, this column F would now become column E and all the column headers would be readjusted. In this situation, we are missing the E. That's because the E is still there, but it is hidden out of view. The other visual cue that we have that there's a hidden column is the very slight distinction in the way the column divider is separated. If we zoom in a little, we might be able to see that there's in fact a double line between D and F. That slight change in formatting is telling us that in fact we have a hidden column here. Understanding these visual cues can be very useful because sometimes people will hide data and this can have a confusing effect on your formulas. A little bit more on that later. If I want to unhide data between two columns, where I know there's hidden data because I can see there's a letter from the alphabet missing or I've recognized the double lines, I highlight the information, right click and use the unhide command. Note that hiding and unhiding rows works in exactly the same way as we have just demonstrated with columns. Select the row headers for the rows that you want to hide, right click and then select hide. So we have looked at the ability within Excel to hide rows and hide columns. But before we finish this video, just a quick word of warning about hiding data. Now remember, as we've discussed, hiding data doesn't delete data. If this data is just for our own personal use, we can hide and unhide data and control it completely ourselves, knowing where the data is. But if we plan to distribute this information, it is worth deleting the information rather than hiding it. The reason for that is because as you develop formulas, as we'll look at in subsequent chapters, those formulas depend on ranges. And a formula will not distinguish between a hidden range and a non-hidden range. That can make it look like a formula is giving you an incorrect result, when in reality the formula is giving you a correct result, but it's based on data that you can't see. So for this reason, hiding columns and hiding rows should be used sparingly. It is definitely a useful feature, but avoid hiding rows of data in a list or important columns in a list of data. And that concludes our video on hiding rows and columns.